Detective Laura Myers arrived at the Whitmore estate, an enormous mansion filled with antiques worth millions. Henry Whitmore, the patriarch and renowned collector, was found dead in his study. The family claimed it was a heart attack, but Laura sensed something darker. The room was oddly perfect, no signs of a struggle, the windows locked, and the glass of whiskey spilled on his desk seemed staged. Then her eyes landed on an elaborate grandfather clock in the corner, a masterpiece from the 1800s. It chimed softly as she examined it. Charles Whitmore, Henry's anxious nephew, hovered nearby. He had health issues, he said, his voice shaky. Laura nodded but took mental notes. The autopsy later revealed poison in Henry's system. It wasn't an accident. This was murder. Returning to the study, Laura examined the clock closely. Its face was pristine, but something unusual caught her eye. A tiny lens hidden in the carved wood. A camera. If this clock had been recording, it might have captured the killer, but why was it still here? Someone knew this clock held a deadly secret and left it behind for a reason. Laura had the clock sent to the lab for analysis. Sure enough, it wasn't just a clock, it had a hidden recording device that captured a 1-minute clip every hour on the hour. The killer didn't take it because the device wasn't obvious. The memory card revealed 12 clips from the day of the murder. Laura watched intently. 9 a.m., Henry reading a newspaper. 10 a.m., a maid dusting the shelves. Les 11 a.m., Henry arguing with his nephew. Charles' voices muffled, but gestures heated. 12 p.m., nothing unusual. 1 p.m., Henry pouring whiskey. Then the screen went black. The next clip, 2 p.m., showed Henry slumped over his desk, dead. No killer in sight, no one entering or leaving. The poison had worked silently. Laura replayed the 1 p.m. footage. Henry had poured the drink himself. Did that mean he poisoned his own whiskey unknowingly, or did someone prepare it earlier? Charles became suspect number one. But then Laura discovered something chilling. The maid, Alina, hadn't dusted the clock that morning. Why? Because she knew what was inside. Laura gathered the family in the grand dining hall. Charles sat pale and trembling, his eyes darting nervously toward the clock, which now stood empty. Across from him sat Margaret Whitmore, Henry's much younger wife. Calm and cold as stone, Alina, the maid, avoided eye contact, wringing her hands. Detective, she whispered when others weren't listening. That clock? It sees everything. How do you know that? Laura asked. Alina froze, then mumbled something about Henry mentioning it. Laura didn't buy it. Henry was paranoid and trusted few. Why would he tell the maid? When Laura checked the schedule, something odd appeared. Margaret had called an electrician 2 weeks earlier to fix the study lights. The same electrician Henry accused of theft years ago. Why call him back? Then came the will. Henry left most of his fortune to an art charity, not his wife, not his nephew. Both had strong motives. Before leaving, Laura glanced at the silent clock, now an empty shell of secrets, and then her phone buzzed. The lab found a partial fingerprint inside the clock mechanism. It wasn't Henry's. It wasn't the maid's. It belonged to Margaret. Margaret Whitmore met Laura's gaze with icy calm when confronted. Of course my fingerprints are on the clock, she said smoothly. Henry loved it. I polished it all the time. Laura pressed on. You called an electrician for the lights, but there was nothing wrong with them. Margaret smiled faintly. You think I killed him for money? Detective, I knew about the will. Henry told me the day before he died. I was furious, yes, about killing him. That would leave me with nothing. Why would I? Her logic was sound, but Laura didn't trust her composure. Then, another discovery. The whiskey decanter tested positive for cyanide. Whoever poisoned it had done so before 1 p.m. Only 3 people were home during that time. Margaret, Charles, and Alina. As Laura reviewed the footage again, something clicked. At 11 a.m., during the heated argument, Charles slammed a hand on the desk near the whiskey. Could he have slipped something into the glass then? Laura planned to question him further, but that night, as she drove home, her dashboard lit up with a message from an unknown number. Stop watching the clock, detective, or you'll run out of time. Laura tightened her grip on the steering wheel. The message wasn't random, it was a warning. Someone knew she was close. She traced the number, but it was a burner phone. Whoever sent it was careful. The next morning, another shock. The clock was stolen from the evidence room. No forced entry, no cameras catching the thief. Whoever did this knew police procedures well. Laura's gut told her the killer wasn't just clever, they were inside the circle. Maybe even inside law enforcement. Meanwhile, Charles cracked under pressure. Henry ruined me. He yelled during interrogation. He promised to fund my business, then backed out. I was broke, but I didn't kill him. Margaret's alibi was weak, but she remained calm. Too calm. And she vanished overnight, leaving behind her uniform and a note. I can't stay. It's not safe anymore. Why was the maid scared unless she knew the truth? Then Laura's phone rang. It was the tech team. Detective, we checked the clock's internal memory. The last clip wasn't 2 p.m. There's a hidden file timestamped 1:30 p.m. and someone tried to erase it. Laura's pulse quickened. The erased clip could reveal the killer. Recovering the hidden file took hours. But the tech team finally cracked it. The 1:30 p.m. clip appeared grainy, distorted. Someone had tried hard to delete it. Laura leaned closer as the footage played. Henry sat at his desk, sipping whiskey. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the room. A figure approached from the left, face out of frame, but a reflection in the glass cabinet revealed part of their arm, a sleeve. Dark navy blue. The killer handed Henry something that looked like a letter. Henry read it, frowned, then collapsed forward. The figure didn't panic. Instead, they calmly wiped the glass and walked out. Laura froze the frame and enhanced the reflection. The cuff had a gold insignia, a small crest with intertwined letters. W.M. Whitmore Mansion staff wore plain uniforms. This wasn't Alina, it wasn't family, it was someone official. Someone connected to the estate in another way. Laura cross-checked the crest. It belonged to Whitmore's private security firm, a team Henry. Rarely used, but recently reinstated. Then Laura remembered the electrician Margaret hired. He wasn't an electrician. His real name was Matthew Cole-X-Security. And Matthew had just disappeared. Laura dug into Matthew Cole's past. Fired 3 years ago for theft, he blamed Henry for ruining his life. Margaret calling him weeks before the murder couldn't be a coincidence. Had she hired him to scare Henry? Or to kill him? As Laura pieced the puzzle together, another chilling detail surfaced. Matthew's last known address was an abandoned cabin outside town. When Laura arrived, the place reeked of decay and secrets. On a dusty table lay tools, burner phones, and an old laptop. She powered it on and her blood ran cold. Video files, dozens of them, all from inside Whitmore Mansion. Henry wasn't paranoid. He was being watched. Every room, every argument, every secret captured. Matthew wasn't just a killer. He was blackmailing the Whitmores. Then a sound creaked behind her. Laura spun around, gun drawn, but no one was there. A faint ticking echoed from the corner. Another clock. Its pendulum swung slowly, hypnotically. A note was taped to it. Detective Myers TikTok. Laura realized then Matthew wasn't running, he was playing. Laura returned to the mansion with backup. Charles was gone. Margaret waited in the study, sipping tea like nothing was wrong. You should leave this alone, she murmured. Men like Matthew, they don't forgive. So, you admit you know him? Laura pressed. Margaret sighed. I hired him to retrieve something Henry stole from me. That's all. What was it? A letter, Margaret said softly. Proof Henry forged my prenup. Laura didn't believe her entirely, but before she could push further, a gunshot shattered the silence. Upstairs they rushed to find Charles on the floor bleeding, barely alive. Scrawled in blood on the wall, wrong time. Matthew was eliminating loose ends. Laura tightened security around Margaret, but that night she received another message. The clock knows who dies next. Attached was a photo. Margaret, asleep in her bed. Laura worked without rest. The files from Matthew's laptop revealed his obsession. He planned the murder down to the second, using the clock as both witness and weapon. But something didn't add up. Why poison Henry when Matthew liked control? Why erase the footage, instead of releasing it for blackmail, unless Matthew wasn't the mastermind? Laura revisited the 1:30 p.m. clip. That insignia, the crest, was sewn poorly, as if attached last minute. A disguise. Matthew wasn't in the room. Someone dressed as him. Laura ran DNA from the recovered cuff fibers. The result hit like a bullet. Margaret Whitmore, the widow, staged everything, hired Matthew, framed him, then tried to kill Charles to secure her inheritance. But before Laura could arrest her, Margaret vanished, and the ticking clock sent its final message. Meet me at the mansion, alone. Laura entered the mansion at midnight. Silence. Only the grandfather clock steady. Tick echoed through the halls. Margaret emerged from the shadows, gun in hand. You're too late, she whispered. Henry took everything from me. I just took it back. You poisoned him. You framed Matthew? Why? Laura asked calmly, inching closer. Margaret's eyes gleamed. Because power is timing, detective, and my timing is perfect. A click. But before she could fire, the clock chimed midnight. From its hollow belly, a hidden compartment sprang open, revealing Matthew's final move. A camera, broadcasting, lived to police headquarters. Smile, Margaret, Laura said as sirens wailed outside. The clock saw everything. Margaret's face twisted in rage. Damn that clock, she screamed as officers stormed in. Laura stared at the ticking hands. In the end, time wasn't just a witness, it was justice.